So the protocols we discussed, these protocols are stacked in such a way that it forms a model. So in the networking world, this protocol works on layers and thus these layers forms a model. So we discussed some of the protocols and what they do briefly. Now the question arises is that how can so many protocols work together under one roof? The solution to this was to arrange them in an order such that all of them can work in conjugation with each other. This arrangement gave us a model which is popularly known as the OSI model or the Open Systems Interconnection Model. The OSI model or the Open Systems Interconnection Model is a multi-layer network model that stacks the protocols on individual layers as suited. So that means on every layer of the model, that are the 7 layers, each layer will have some protocols and some protocols will be working on those independent layers, and thus 7 layers will have different protocols working on each of them. This model consists of 7 layers stacked upon each other. The flow of data from the lowest level of physical bits to the highest level of application visualization is handled by these layers. So everything from the physical bits to the data that is understood by the application, everything is handled by these layers. As the data starts moving from the lower layers to the upper layers, each layer adds some new things that must be followed by the data at the individual levels. Now let us see what these 7 layers of the OSI model are and how the model is structured with all of them stacked upon. The figure shows the OSI model with 7 layers. So you can see here is the 7-layer OSI model, and the model starts from the bottom layer, that is the physical layer or layer 1. So the first one is the layer 1, that is known as the physical layer. This is the lowest layer of the model upon which other layers are stacked. Then we have the data link layer or the layer 2. So above that we have the data link layer. This layer handles all the layer 2 protocols and services like MAC addresses, and most importantly the flow control of the data. The third one is the network layer or the layer 3. This layer handles the means or the ways by which the message can be transported from one device to the other device. The next layer or the layer above that is the 4th layer or the transport layer. This layer handles how the messages will be sent and what will be the best way or the best option of doing so. As the name suggests, the transport layer is responsible for the transportation of messages from one node to other node. The 5th layer is the session layer. As the name suggests, this layer makes sure that before the actual transmission of data happens, the link or session is ensured between the two communicating devices. So the session layer makes sure that before the actual transmission takes place, there is a link through which the communication can happen. That is the purpose of session layer. The next layer is the presentation layer or the layer 6. This layer maps the application language to the computer language and vice versa. This means there is a language that is understood by the application and then there is a language that is understood by the computers. Both of them are different, and the work of presentation layer is to create a mapping between two different languages. So it forms a mapping between different application languages and the standard computer language. The last layer or the top layer is the layer 7 or the application layer. All the application works and use this layer directly. So any application, any software, any website you are using, the application layer is directly in contact with that. This layer is something that the applications can understand. This layer also serves as a link between the user that is using the application and the layer that is beneath that is the presentation layer. So these are all the 7 layers of the OSI model, starting from the physical, the data link, the network layer, the transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and lastly the application layer. Now this is very simple, but the sequence in which all these layers are numbered is very important, so you should note that down.